Random. I am not your host, Janae Thompson, and you may have noticed some changes on the channel, but one change none of us have missed is the fact that Grant's not on the channel anymore. And ever since that point in time, the channel has never been the same. I am not unaware of this. And the reason I am making this video, and I'm making it here in his favorite spot, which if I just adjust this a little bit, you'll be able to see just right up here, this mountain right here. This is the last place Grant ever touched foot on this earth, because this mountain right here is where he took off from for the last time when he went paragliding. And it then became that fateful day where the world learned that we had lost one of our favorite YouTubers. And that moment changed my life forever. And I wanted to make this video, and I wanted to make it's windy here. I wanted to make it here in the place he loved the most. He came here to find freedom. He came here to live his best life. He came here to fly, because when he flew, that's the place where he could feel, and he could feel deeper than anything he'd been able to connect with his feet planted on the earth. That's not where he felt free. Although for him, making the King of Random videos was the one thing that made him feel the most free on this planet. And as his wife, what I wanted to do was support him in living his best life, in living his dreams, and I did that from day one. I did that from the inception of King of Random, and I have been here through every step, from the very first video to the very last video, which we did not know would be the last video Grant would ever make. I've been here through it all, and surprising fact, I have been here through every transition that's been on the channel. Some of you have wondered, has the channel been sold? What's happening to it now? Well, no, the channel hasn't been sold. I still have the channel because, Grant and I created it together and planned on keeping it together. But as you all know, when a spouse dies, whatever the spouse has goes to the remaining spouse. And Grant and I for sure created this channel together, but we all know he was the face of the channel. He was the love of the channel. He was the curiosity behind the success and the genuine love and passion that created the King of Random. And guess what? I have news for everybody. I am not Grant, so I can't take over and do what he did. That's not who I am. That's not, my passion. That's not my role. How silly would it be if I came back here in the backyard and just said, I'm going to start blowing shit up, everybody? Like, that would be silly, right? And, some people have said, hey, would his sons want to come on the channel and take over and, be the King of Random? And let me just ask you this, as amazing as Grant was, and the projects that he did, and many of you have said, oh my gosh, I wish Grant was my dad, or I love doing these projects with my dad. This is just such a perfect channel for projects for kids and their dads. And Grant has been like a dad figure to me, but for his boys, my sons, they were really, really young when their dad was here with us. And when he died, my oldest was 10 years old and my youngest was 2. So when my husband died, I was left with 4 children under the age of 10. And getting kids to, be available and film and, do a project, it takes a lot of time and attention. And that essentially would be like herding wild cats for me. Now, as they've gotten older, they're definitely expressing interest in, YouTube and things like that. But how many of you want to take over what your dad did. I mean, a few of you do, but the majority of you don't. And my kids are all so different. And I think it's a really hard thing for me to address that question, because really what I want is for Grant to do those projects with his boys, and that's not an option for me. And to watch me do those projects with my boys, now that's entertainment. So I know I'm not the person to do that. And unfortunately, you know, we've never had an ideal situation with any of the hosts that we've tried where, you know, something like that's possible. You know, I would have loved that, but it just hasn't been the case. And so as I look at the channel and all the transitions that it's been on and everything that I've been through as a mother, as a wife, becoming a widow, losing my husband, you know, these past 5 years have been tremendously hard for me. And I've relied heavily on different people and organizations who have said, I can manage the channel. I can do what it's going to take to get the channel into a place where, you know, it'll be what Grant wanted, or it'll be successful, or, you know, we can get the views up, or we can get the monetization up, all of these different things that, you know, so many people look at a channel with, you know, 12.5 million subscribers and say, ooh, I can help you with that. And, you know, the reality is it just has never been the same without Grant. And I would venture to say it will never be the same without Grant. And for me, as I truly start to look at that and accept that and take this channel as this is his legacy, this is his life's work, this is something that was really special, I have to look at it and ask myself, what is the best thing for the King of Random? What is the best thing for the channel? And I don't fully know the answer to that yet. I do know that my most heartfelt, deep objective is to remember and honor the passion that Grant had for the projects that he did, which is why I had to make this video here, because one of the last things he said to me was, when I'm here, when I see this red rock, I feel alive. And that's when I knew this is where he needed to be. And, you know, looking back, this is what ultimately took him from us. Because when he was here, he felt so alive, and that connected him to his new passion that he'd found, which was paragliding. And as competent as he was in the air, I don't know that there is a more competent pilot than Grant as a paraglider. He was an airline pilot. He knew how air worked. He knew everything that there was to know about being safe in the air, and had more experience flying, skydiving, flying airplanes, flying all sorts of different things that he loved being in the air. It was just one of the things that made him feel so happy. And I loved that for him. And what I didn't realize is also how dangerous that sport can be. But because Grant was so competent, I never worried about him. I believed fully that he, of everybody in the world, was the most competent and capable for, you know, engaging in a sport like that. And we all know Grant could do the craziest things, and whenever he did them, they just seemed to work out, and other people would have blown their hands off, or whew, there's the wind. I think maybe that's him saying, yes babe, you hear me, you see me, because he certainly loved the wind. And it was actually this wind here in this area that caused his accident. So there's something to be said for, you know, elements and things that you can't control. And one of the things that I can't control is that he's not here and that he's not guiding the channel. And quite frankly, since he's been gone, you know, the guidance hasn't been there. There hasn't been a helm at the ship of the King of Random. And as much as I know that was supposed to be me, not because I wanted it, not because I asked for it, not because that was my job, it just fell on me. And I really was not in a position to take on the kind of time and intense responsibility that a channel like this takes. So I have basically just, done what I can to try and what I would describe as limp along and do my best with the channel and just keep it going until I had the fortitude to really even make this video and address this problem of what happened to the King of Random. And it's been really uncomfortable. It's been really hard. It's been a lot more than I'm capable of, and this is the first time that I feel like I can address these questions. So this isn't to give you a particular answer, but this is just to help me communicate to the audience that loved my husband so much a little bit of what's happened in the background. And so moving forward, I'm going back and I'm looking at what my husband created and I'm appreciating it again. And it's a journey that I want to invite you guys on as I figure out what is it that I do with this beautiful content that my husband created and this movement that he created from the core of his heart, from the passion contained within his soul that he lived every day in this world with. And it's something that is not ready to be forgotten, that will never be forgotten in reality, but hasn't been honored in the way that I feel like it should be honored. And so this is a journey that I am starting now, 5 years later after the death of my husband, and trying to pick up the pieces of my life and figure out who I am and raise 4 boys by myself without a dad who desperately loved those kids and was the perfect dad for them, and is no longer with us. And that loss has been something that I have grappled with in so many ways that's made it really difficult for me to even address and hold the channel in the way that it's meant to be held, with the time and effort that it deserves. And the truth is, I don't know what the answer to that is yet. And so I just ask that as I finally face this, that, you have patience and afford me the space to say, I don't know if I did the right thing. I don't know what I was doing this whole time. And it's taken me a long time to just find my footing and feel like I can be a human again in a lot of ways without feeling the devastation that losing the love of my life has caused me. So be patient with me, and I'm really grateful that you're still here. And just like Grant didn't know, I don't know what the future holds. I thought that he would be still running the channel and he would be bringing the boys on and they'd be doing projects together, and our channel would be bigger than, dare I say, Mr. Beast. But that didn't happen, and it's because the magic of who Grant is gone. But the memory and where it all started is still here and with us, and it's my job to figure out how to give that to you in the right ways. And I do have some ideas, but between now and then, what I want to do is share from the beginning where this all started, because it's a journey that I'm revisiting because it's time. So as the wind is blowing, and maybe that's Grant just saying, you got this, babe. Because when we did his celebration of life here just at the park down the street, that's what I heard him say as I stood in our bathroom, and I felt like he was hugging me, and he said what I felt like I perceived the phrase, "You've got this, babe." So I don't think that that's true, but I do think that maybe there is something that is meant for this channel that I haven't discovered yet. And so I just invite you to join me on this journey as I go back in time, and we're going to revisit Grant's best projects. And I'm really excited to do that just because it's time for me to remember, because I'm ready. So I invite you to join me.